healing trauma properly, what therapy does not teach you, and why so many people stay stuck for years, if not decades. I'm going to be breaking down all of this today for you. This is going to be a very insightful training. Heaps of information coming your way. Take some notes if you'd like to. If you're new to my content, welcome. My name is Lewis Huckstep. I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I've written the book. It's called The Inspired Life Method, the step-by-step guide of how to find your life's purpose, heal trauma, and create a life that you love. I've coached over 10,000 people, and I've helped thousands of people heal trauma, and I'm really excited for this conversation. So before I get started, the only ask I have from you is if you could just like this video and subscribe to the channel. It means more than you realize. It's going to share it with more people, so I get to impact and help more people find their purpose, heal, all that stuff. I'm going to be sharing my screen today, so if you can watch the video version of this training, I think you'll get a lot more value. So I've got a ton of value coming for you today. So please sit back, relax, take some notes. There's going to be a ton of information coming at you, so strap in for this one. Let's begin. So let's start with the 5 bodies. So what is trauma is the question I've got for you. So I've got some definitions for you, but there's 5 bodies that you want to address on your healing journey. Again, guys, I'm sharing my screen. If you're not watching the video, I'd highly recommend watch the video version of this training. So there's the mental body. That's what most people think of as trauma. It's your memories, your childhood stuff, any conscious, unconscious things, perceptions, and beliefs. That's the mental body. The physical body, that's known as somatics. If you've heard of soma or somatic work or things with the word soma in it, soma means body. You might have heard the term, the issues are in the tissues. So if you've got stored things in your soma, you want to do somatic work. You've got the emotional body. This is your suppressed emotions and your nervous system. So if you've got a very dysregulated nervous system or unclosed loops of emotions, which I'll tie back to soon, that's the emotional body you probably want to address. You've got the spiritual body. This is your level of connectedness to presence, God, source, oneness, divine order, divine presence, call it what you want. That's what the spiritual body is. And then the energetic body, this is when we're working with the chakra centers, the meridians, your biofield, the energy body itself. You want to address all of them in your healing journey. I address all of them with the modalities that I use, but there are hundreds of modalities out there. I always say there's no ultimate martial art, only the ultimate martial artist who pulls from the right one at the right time to get the right result. That's what Bruce Lee said. So with healing, there's no ultimate way to heal. It's not like this is the only way you can heal and that's the best way ever. It depends what, quote, body you need to address along your way. Now, my main modalities that I use, I actually address all of them. That's why I have incredible testimonials with the clients that I work with. And I'll show you one of them today as well. Actually, I'll show you a couple of them. So with that being said, let's rip into it. So I've got some quotes here about trauma that really resonate and really hits home for me in my views and perceptions on trauma. The first one is from Dr. Gabor Mate. He says, trauma is not what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you. It is absolutely beautiful. It's the perceptions and the beliefs and the suppressed emotions that we take on because of what we go through, which I'll tie back to in a moment. I love this quote here. It's very simple. From Dr. Sarah Woodhouse. She's the author of You're Not Broken. Really good book as well. She says, trauma is unprocessed memories. Really, really simple, really beautiful. I love this one here. I'm actually currently reading Dr. Peter Levine's work. His work is phenomenal. He mainly worked with the somatic experiencing, which is the physical body. But he says this really well. He says, trauma is not what happens to us, but it's what we hold inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. So essentially, we go through. I'm actually going to show you I'm going to show you a video of what happens when we tense up and we suppress emotions and we don't close the loop of emotions, which I'll get to in a moment. Hope you guys are enjoying these quotes, by the way. If any of them stand out, whack it in the comments. I'd love to hear which ones you really like. I like this one here. Dr. John Demartini is my biggest mentor. I love Dr. John. I'm actually seeing him tomorrow at the time of recording this training. So he says this. Anything you can't say thank you for, be grateful for, or have love for is baggage. Anything you can is fuel. Really, really beautiful. Again, I'm going to tie back to these quotes as I continue the training. And he says this one. I use this one a lot. Anything you experience outside of love and gratitude is a lopsided perception. I'm going to show you visuals of what this looks like in a moment. If you've done David Hawkins' work, Dr. David Hawkins, what that previous quote about love and gratitude lines up perfectly with his scale of consciousness. If anyone's done that, just Google it, have a look at it. I'm sharing it on my screen right now. So essentially, David Hawkins went through, and I believe he used kinesiology tools to measure the frequency of emotions that we experience. So certain hurt levels that our emotions vibrate at, essentially. When you get to love, love is a transcendent emotion, meaning it's an integrated emotion, which you'll see in the coming slides, where you experience love and above. So anything you don't genuinely have love for, or joy, or appreciation, or enlightenment for, is something you have not healed yet. It's something you have not integrated yet. It is what DeMartini calls a lopsided perception. So that's some angles on trauma. I'm going to tie this all together for you today. So this is my definition. I've actually just recently refined it after my more learnings because I continue to learn about this topic because I obviously love this conversation. So this is my new refined definition of trauma. Trauma is a moment of overwhelm or underwhelm. Super simple, super easy, and it makes sense. It applies in all contexts so far that I've seen. You'll notice something with my teaching if you guys have been following me for a while. I like to use first principles thinking. If it's not true across the board, it's not a truth. There's other factors that you're missing. For me, this definition applies across the board. I haven't seen a moment or a situation where this was not true. So it's a moment in time where you experience some form of overwhelm or underwhelm, mentally, emotionally, energetically. That's my definition of trauma. Hope you enjoyed that one. I love this. So when you go through trauma, it's overwhelming or underwhelming, what we do is we split or fragment our level of awareness and consciousness. We become conscious of things and unconscious of others, or we become aware of some things and unaware of others. Let me use an example for you. So again, I'm showing my screen, so it's a lot easier to see this. So when we go through life, there are always upsides and positives to situations, and there's downsides and negatives to situations. When you experience and perceive everything, when you're present, when you're loving, when you're integrated, you see both sides to everything. Everything is balanced. But this is where trauma comes into it. When you pedestal something, when you're in elation, when you put someone on a pedestal, when something is too good to be true, and we've all been there before, the honeymoon period in relationships is when you see the upsides, but you don't see the downsides. You're high on your own supply. You're elated. You're not balanced. You're not present. You're not seeing the full picture. That's what elation or pedestaling is. You're aware of the upsides, but you're not aware of the downsides. So you are unconscious, unaware of the downsides to the situation. And that's where you go through the honeymoon period where you see the upsides to this person or the person that you're dating, but eventually that wears off and then you start to see the downsides. And you're like, holy shit, where was this version of this person at the start? Well, they were there. You just didn't see it. You were high on emotions and you were drunk on emotions and all you saw was the upsides. You didn't see the downsides. Everything is balanced. Every single trait, person, event, there's a quote soon that I'll share with you, is balanced. Now that's hard to hear. And I'll share an example with you guys very soon. This is what trauma looks like from a visual perspective. It is a moment when you perceive and are conscious of or aware of the downsides and not aware of the upsides. Now, again, that's hard to understand and comprehend until you do proper healing work, which, again, I'll show you a testimonial on this. Actually, I'll use it right now just because I can use it to tie into it. I use this testimonial quite frequently because it's just such a powerful testimonial, and I've got thousands of these, but this one's just really powerful. Her name's Kel, one of my beautiful clients. It's a big T trauma, so trigger warning. So she was sexually abused by her dad for 5 years. So her dad abused her sexually, physically, mentally, emotionally from the ages of 5 to 9 years old. Pretty hectic. You can pause the video if you want to read the entire testimonial. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. So she said here, she had a huge emotional release, which is the closing off of the emotional loop, which I'll get to in a moment. Her asthma went away. So she had a physical somatic healing as well, which is fantastic. And then this part here, this paragraph here. To say I love my dad is something I never thought could ever be possible, considering that I was bedridden 8 years ago in so much pain. It's been a tough 30 plus years I've spent in trauma therapy. So she spent 30 years, never closed the loop off mentally or emotionally properly. But I'm so full of gratitude writing this in this moment. Now, again, that can be hard to comprehend if you haven't done this type of healing before. But if you remember Dr. John DeMartini's definition Or quote, he said, anything you experience outside of loving gratitude is a lopsided perception. So Kel, when she went through her pain and her trauma, a moment of overwhelm or underwhelm, she only perceived the downsides to it. And just so you know, I'm a human as well. It makes sense why you would. When you go through pain, high levels of emotional pain, you're not going to see the upsides, or it's going to be very hard to see the upsides to it, to see the balance to it. That's what trauma is. It's a moment of overwhelm or underwhelm when we perceive the downsides and we are unconscious and unaware of the upsides. Now, I just use Kel's testimonial because it proves it so well. So how do we get to this point? How do you get to a point of presence and love and have full awareness when you are fully aware of the upsides, the downsides, and you see both sides? That's what the goal is mentally when it comes to healing trauma. Now, again, I'm just touching on the mental body right now. I'm about to get to the emotional body because some people focus on one or the other or don't do the whole, you saw the 5 bodies. A lot of people don't do all 5 in their healing journey. They might only do breath work, they might only do NLP or DMartini or plant medicines or somatic work or spiritual practices, and they don't do all 5 bodies. So the mental body is essentially what I've just been speaking about right now. The mental body, the best way to heal the mental body is to bring your levels of awareness back into balance, where you see the full spectrum of that moment that you went through. How do you do that? Do my balancing process. Kel's testimonial I just showed you was using my balancing process, which allows you to see the full picture, mentally and emotionally as well. Hope this is making sense. And if you've got any thoughts or takeaways, whack it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback. So I love this quote here from Dr. John DeMartini again. He says, all events are neutral until someone filters them into polarization. You might have heard the quote before. Life is not good nor bad. Thinking just makes it so. So life just happens and it is completely balanced and neutral. However, we are humans with emotions and biases and beliefs and perceptions and trauma and all the stuff we've gone through. So through the filters of being a human and having emotions and all those things, we are not going to see the full picture. So we're going to put it into polarization. We're going to see the downsides to something and not the upsides, or vice versa. We're going to see the upsides to something and not the downsides. We're humans. It's one of the flaws of being humans. We don't see the full picture all the time, unless you come to my balancing process and I help you see the full picture, right? So this is just a visual of what a lopsided perception can look like. So this is a balanced perception where you see equal positives, equal negatives, and you experience transcendent emotions. Back to David Hawkins' work, where it's love and above. You have love, joy, appreciation, enlightenment for the things that you go through. Remember Kel's testimonial. She had love and gratitude for her dad abusing her. Again, hard to comprehend until you see it, until you get it in your heart. She said, to say, I love my dad, and also I'm so full of gratitude right in this moment. That's the goal you want to get to. So that's what a balanced perception looks like. A negative perception looks like this. You see all of these downsides, all of the pain, all of the suffering that came along with what you went through. You don't see the gifts. You don't see it. When you've heard the term, greater the pain, greater the purpose, greater the wounds, greater the wisdom. This is what it means. We just don't get taught it, especially in therapy. You do not get taught this shit. So the goal is to bring it back into balance. And just so you know, this is what a elated or a lopsided perception, a positive lopsided perception, where you put people on pedestals. You go through the honeymoon period in relationships. You see all of these upsides. You don't see the downsides. So again, you want to come back into balance. What's the downsides to this situation? What's the downsides to this person? Let's get balanced. And balance does not mean neutral and numb and you don't experience emotions. It's you experience love, gratitude, presence, joy, enlightenment. Those transcendent emotions is what we experience when we get balanced. Hope this is making sense. Again, whack your thoughts down below. Leave some comments down below. So that was mainly the mental side of things. Now I'm talking about the emotional side of things. Trauma is an unclosed loop of an emotional response. It is awesome. I've only just really had that drop in for me about 2 weeks ago. That's why I was excited to do this training. Trauma is an unclosed loop of an emotional experience. So this is another quote. This is from Dr. Peter Levine again. He says, trauma is the residue of an emotional experience that your body and mind couldn't complete at the time. Let me say that. It was a bit of a mouthful, but it's so powerful when you get it. Trauma is the residue of an emotional experience that your body and mind couldn't complete at the time. I'm going to show you a video. You can actually find this on YouTube. It's really cool. So I'm just going to open it up here for you guys. So if you just type in Impala, I can't even say that word, Impala, escapes death and shakes off the stress. So essentially, I'm just going to summarize it for you. You won't be able to hear the video, the audio of this through my computer. But essentially, there is an impala, a gazelle-looking thing, who is been captured by a cheetah or whatever that is. Then it's gone into a freeze response. So if you've heard of fight, flight, and freeze, this is immobilization. It's in a freeze response. So it's freezed up and it's stopped. However, there's all this pent up energy, because think about it, when you go into fight or flight, you have all of this energy ready to survive and fight or flight or do your things. But when you go into freeze, the system shuts down, but all of that energy is still in you. That emotional residue is still in you. So I'm going to skip it along, but you'll see eventually this impala starts to what they call tremor. It starts to discharge the energy. So it's actually about to start doing it now. So if you're watching the video, the animal is shaking. It's tremoring. What it's doing is discharging that excess emotions, that excess emotional residue that's in its system, in its nervous system, its body. So it shakes it all out like it is right now. And eventually, once it's done, it's going to get up and gallop away back to safety. So it gets up and then see you later. And then goes back and enjoys its day, right? But we don't do this as humans. Think of what humans do in contrast. We go through something emotional, rejection, abandonment, neglect, abuse, all these things. And we generally tighten up and we suppress it. We don't express it. Because as a society, expressing emotions is not really safe and recommended and encouraged, right? So think about that. You go through something traumatic. You go through something that was overwhelming or underwhelming. And you have all of this emotion pent up in you. Frustration, stress, guilt, anxiety, all this stuff. And if you're not able to close the loop of that emotions, guess what? It gets suppressed into your nervous system. So your nervous system is super dysregulated. So when you get triggered, I talk about three things: trauma, coping mechanisms, and triggers. So trauma is the moment of overwhelm or underwhelm. It's going to be something specific: abuse, abandonment, rejection, lying, controlling, manipulation, all these things. And then you have this emotional response. If you're not able to close the loop of it, you'll get triggered moving forward, because you have trauma, then coping mechanisms. It's what we do to get through the moment. We disassociate, we get anxious, we smoke a cigarette, we eat food, we become a people pleaser, we overwork, we overachieve, we hate men or women. You'll come up with your coping mechanisms, and then a trigger, something reminds you of the trauma and activates the coping mechanism. Nothing triggers you. It reveals what's inside of you. So if you've got all this pent up emotions, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, all the shit in your nervous system, when someone then, I'll use rejection as the example for today. Say you've had a moment of overwhelm or underwhelm when you were rejected. It's actually quite a common one for humans. So rejection, abandonment, misunderstood, anger, controlling, manipulation, lying, insert your word, probably from your parents or your childhood, right? When someone then does that thing back to you, or you perceive someone to do it back to you, it's going to trigger you into some form of a response, a coping mechanism. And this continues until you heal it. So I hope this is making sense and you're getting some value. If you are, put your comments down below. Let me know your takeaways. So I could talk for hours about this. This is actually my favorite conversation to have, is around trauma, transformation, and healing. So the goal is two things from this conversation anyways. One, balance your perceptions. Integrate your perceptions. See the gifts to what you went through. And yes, that's hard to comprehend. That's why I share Kel's testimonial. It's one of the biggest T traumas you can go through: sexual abuse from your father or your parents. One of the biggest big T traumas you can go through for 5 years. And for her to get to love and gratitude mentally and emotionally, phenomenal. It's incredible. It proves how possible it is, right? So that's one side to the conversation, is to balance and integrate your mind and your perceptions and emotions. And then second is to close the loop of the emotional response, whether that's to have a cry, have a scream, have a rage release, do the thing to close the loop off. That's where breath work, a rage release, using that emotion to express it is so powerful for healing. So what tools do you want to use to heal? I would love to serve you if you feel resonated with me, if you like my energy, if you like my vibe. I offer a free trial with a one-on-one call with me when you join my program. And I give you all of my tools to heal, to integrate, to find your purpose, a lot more than what I've just said. And I've got thousands of testimonials to show that this shit works. So there's three things I recommend when looking for someone to work with: a coach, a therapist, a healer, someone to work with. Number one, you like their energy. You feel connected with them, you feel safe with them to some degree. Don't have to be their best friend on the planet, but you have a level of safety to be vulnerable, because that's what is required to do inner work, right? So that's the first thing I recommend. Second, is the person you're working with is an embodiment of the work that they teach. It's like someone who can read a book but doesn't do what the book says, and they try to teach it to others, right? It's kind of like the unhealthy personal trainer. I personally Don't listen to unhealthy personal trainers. Like, I get it. They can study and read YouTube, use some chat GBT, but if they don't embody it, they don't have the deep nuance of knowledge of what actually goes along into doing the work, right? So is the person you're working with doing their own work, doing their own healing, doing their own integration, right? And then third is they have proven results for others, because there's a different skill set between helping yourself and helping others, right? Some people are really good at helping themselves, but they don't know how to communicate, they don't know how to articulate, they don't know how to guide others through the process, and that's okay as well. So they're the 3 things I recommend. So I hope you got value from this. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to know, what have you done so far in your healing journey that has worked or hasn't worked? I'd love to know your feedback. There's tons of modalities. There's hundreds of modalities out there. And if you'd love to work with me, I've got a free trial with a one-on-one call with me. It's only $49 a month. If you want to continue, you can cancel whenever you want, including within the trial. The link is down below. Or go grab a copy of my book. It's a great starting point as well. Please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts below. Share this with a friend. Hope you enjoyed the training, and I'll speak to you soon. See ya.